Hey, hey. Yep, from somewhere on the road in America. Look, Boston. Wow. Bad situation. Truffers. Bad situation. How is it the truffers can blame, I don't know, politicians who make statements, mainstream media who make statements, saying that this was either a domestic or foreign terrorist incident, so quickly, but yet at the same time they're condemning the politicians and the mainstream media for doing that. They are calling it a false flag event. They don't have any more information than the politicians, and they say the politicians are jumping to a conclusion, of what it was, but yet so are they. But the politicians are wrong and they're right. That's what's wrong with you idiots, retards, okay? You can jump to a conclusion based on the same information that you don't like, but yet mainstream media and anybody else who comes to a different conclusion is wrong. All right? Why were there bomb dogs there, and why did the bomb dogs not alert? Well, at a point in my life, in my military career, I supervised dog teams. Okay? Bomb dogs are trained to sniff out certain chemical elements. Okay? Now, these elements, these bombs, apparently, from what I'm gathering from truthers, all right, and mainstream media, is what were in pressure cookers. I know a lot of people don't use pressure cookers nowadays, but if you ever have, you would know that a pressure cooker is an airtight chamber. All right, you put product in it, meat, whatever. You seal the lid onto the pan, all right, or onto the pot, and it has a pressure gauge on top of it that as it heats up inside, the pressure gauge builds up pressure. Well, if it was like a regular pot and pan that you just set a lid on top of the stove, that pressure would never build up, okay, because it would escape around the lid. So, pretty much a pressure cooker is an airtight container, all right? So, if it's an airtight container, it seems to me that no odors from what is inside of it can get out. Makes sense, right? Okay, because it's airtight. You got to have the odor in order for the bomb dogs to smell it. So that's it. Why was Homeland Security there so quickly? Well, because Homeland Security was already deployed to Boston. Oh my God. They must have planned it. Not necessarily. They planned to be there in case an incident occurs. It's called being prepared. Being ahead of the power curve. If we look back and we remember things like Katrina, okay, where we just tore the government up, FEMA in particular, for not responding quick enough. All right. So this time what we have is Homeland Security is on site because it's a large event, large numbers of people, which we know historically terrorists like to hit because they get big body counts, big news coverage, just as they got with this incident. So Homeland Security would be on site. Why would they hold a training exercise that morning, the day before, whenever it was? Well, that's because they all got together, they set up a plan, and it was like, okay, let's run through it before the race. Now, you don't want to sit there and run through what you're going to do 3-4 days in advance, a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, so that whoever's planning this act can watch you and see exactly what your response is going to be. So you would do it as close to the event time as possible. Therefore, you do not give away what's going to happen. All right. Why did they cut the cell phones off? It has been common procedure, normal procedure to, in a explosion incident or a bomb threat, to cut off all electronic communications, including radios, transmitting. Receiving isn't such a big deal, but transmitting is. How many explosive devices have been set up to be detonated by cell phones? Thousands. So, it is like the main source for detonation. So if you cut them off, they can't explode anymore. Logic. I know truffers don't like logic, but hey, there it is. So, that's the deal there on Boston. I am very heartbroken to have heard the other day that my dear friend, citizen journalist, man on the street, George for title, founder of Survive and Thrive TV, is having issues with someone there and is in negotiations, and Survive and Thrive TV may go away. Now, I have a question about that. If he is the founder, and what brought this dispute to a head is his reporting on the VA gun confiscation situation, and he's the founder, how is that an issue? You know, because it's his. He's the founder. Survive and Thrive TV is his. He can do whatever he wants on there, right? Well, apparently it's not his. See, because if it was his, he wouldn't have to negotiate with anybody. He would just say, look, I'm going to put on there what I want because it's mine. So apparently it's not. So he is a slave. He was a slave to someone that owned Survive and Thrive TV, which would explain why when you looked for who owned the domain name, you could never find it. It was a proxy. Yes, it was a proxy situation for ownership on that. Kind of interesting. But anyway, so I'm thinking Survive and Thrive TV was nothing more than the situation he had with Inflation US, for which he was a founder. It didn't belong to him. It really belonged to someone else. So when John Libido kicked him to the curb, okay, John Libido kept Inflation US as far as the domain name because he owned it, not little George. So once again, we have a situation where George claims to lead this frugal lifestyle, doesn't need to work, but every time he turns around, somebody is pulling the financial plug on what he's doing because they have that little Filipino slave by the balls. Yep. And he is also very, very upset that Entrepreneurial Patriot is bailing out of the truffer movement up there in Sacramento because he has seen the light. The world is not coming to an end. The economy is not going to totally collapse. We have gone through hard times. We will go through hard times, and we will survive. So, I really think that's a really funny situation. So, I want everybody to have a good day. I'll be back on the road here in a couple hours. Got places to go, people to see, food to deliver so y'all can buy it and eat. Beautiful thing, beautiful thing. But I'll talk to y'all later, and have a great day, because I sure am. Bye-bye now.